Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Paulio Jr. And in this video, I would really, it's nice to have another face-to-face. You can see that my background has changed. I have moved in the process, but today I wanted to talk about things related to anxiety, since most of this channel is more repair oriented, software reviews, but I do have a couple things that are health related in nature, and of course mental health is definitely a part of that. And so I wanted to discuss the topic of conflict, internal conflict to be more specific. So, and which ultimately everything is internal conflict, and that can just manifest outwards. And while I was driving home, this was something that I have experienced many times in the past, was conflict as far as being pulled in two separate directions. So we'll use a lot of people who encounter some sort of anxiety, and typically people who are still in the stages of trying to get through their anxiety. They experience a lot of guilt, which is very exaggerated. A lot of shame, guilt, and long story short, from my experience, I've seen that these sort of disruptive thought processes are a complete fallacy. And the biggest thing that you can do in a lot of these situations is not to do anything. Because if you've ever experienced, say, even something like a breakup, and I'll use my personal experience here. So in my personal experience, quite a few years ago, I had a breakup with somebody, and in the end, it was my fault, but the guilt and the obsession that I experienced were very intense. It was a very intense time in my life, where as though I felt like I needed this other person to provide me with forgiveness, where in fact that is the complete opposite of what is true. And so the first thing, as far as what I'm talking about specifically, would be to forgive myself. And then if there was anything else that I needed to do from there, I don't do it from a place of guilt or remorse or whatever it is. I don't have to, those feelings and those thought processes associated with it that are saying like you need to apologize, blah blah blah, and then sometimes you get some conflict, because what's really happening is you have this pattern in your mind that you're not deserving to feel at peace, and which is total garbage. It's completely nonsensical. So if you've ever realized being in a state of anxiety or depression, whatever it is, and say that there was something that you had done, and you're just like, oh man, I have to do something in order to redeem myself, and to save face and all that good stuff. And I'm here to tell you, in my experience, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to forgive yourself. And what I mean by that is, wherever you were at that point in time, you're not. What's done is done, and every individual is responsible for their their level of awareness, their level of consciousness, whatever their morals want to be. You can choose whatever you want, however you want to experience life. And some people go through life with very little difficulty, and then there are some people that do struggle. And so in the case of internal conflict, where you're being pulled, I'm just using this as an example, to say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that, blah, 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 or, should I not say anything, and let it go, kind of thing. Should I say it? Should I not say it? Should I say it? Should I not say it? So typically, at least in the experience, when that disruptive state is enveloping your mind, the best thing to do in that situation is to internally resolve it first. So you do not ever act like, if you I have to go and make amends to this person for this because I'm feeling so guilty, and I'm feeling so down, and how could I have done this, and all that kind of all those what we call garbage thoughts. So, and there's really two ways. There's really one way to describe that level of what I just call it intensity. You would call it anxiety, depression, confusion, whatever it is. But whenever there is this high level of intensity that is starting to compromise you, and you feel as though you need to do something externally, say for instance apologize to a person. Now, when you do that, what you're doing is you are reinforcing this anxiety mechanism that's going on, because that's all it is. Because what the mechanism is really saying is that if you don't do this, you're not allowed to feel at peace. You're not allowed to feel clear, and that's just what these disruptive states do. And it's very similar to, say, quitting smoking or something like that, where you, in your mind, where you're like, I know that if I smoke, it's ridiculous. So why would I smoke, right? And it seems like a very easy solution. But then it gets to a point where that process is so convincing and manipulative that it will still get you to smoke, and then you go, fuck, why did I do that? Why did I just have a cigarette? And then you continue to smoke, reinforcing the process again. So that's why there's way more power in letting go of both, and we kind of call that the middle way of being neutral. So is going, and a lot of people with anxiety, which I've reiterated in previous videos, that that anxiety is not a permanent condition. It is very very temporary. So it just depends on your willingness and what you need to do, and how open-minded you are at that particular time. But my suggestion is that when that mechanism is running and it is expecting you and wants you to say, hey man, you did something wrong, you really did something wrong, is being okay with doing something wrong. I'm not talking about as far as I'm not saying to be this evil person, because you're experiencing this guilt, and typically a lot of so we'll use the example of sociopaths. And sociopaths typically don't really care what they do. They could go out and kill somebody and be completely fine with it. But in the realm of anxiety, where you're getting a pull of this is what needs to be done, sort of thing, and if you don't do it, there's going to be consequences, which is the complete reversal of the truth. If you do in fact do that, there will be actually more consequences, because that mechanism has just been reinforced. And what it'll either do one of two things. Well, typically you might feel a very temporary. It could be minutes, maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, maybe the rest of the night, where you see that level kind of flatten out, and you're like, yeah, I did the right thing, blah blah blah. And then when you wake up, the process just starts all over again. So it creates something new, or it's going. And this is what's interesting about anxiety, because it is based in conflict. Is it's going, well, why the hell would you even say anything about this person? So there's a lot of conflict in that. And so the most important thing that you can do is to basically let it go completely, being okay with what has happened, and you might even get something, saying like, no, this, you got to do something, you got to say something. And the only reality of that, the only true statement that's coming out of that is, yes, you may have to do something, but do it internally. There's nothing don't look for external validity to calm your mind. So if you can release things internally, and once you start feeling that pressure sort of settle down, and you're not reacting, and you're just kind of leaving it alone and going forward, because that level can get very intense, where it's saying you have to do this. No, you don't. And you may see that level of anxiety rise, but it will drop, and it will say, okay, well, we're not getting a reaction out of this, so you're slowly diminishing that mechanism. And I hope what I said made some sort of sense, but I just wanted to reiterate that if you are experiencing a pull, in two separate directions, really all that is that's all the same process. It's the same process arguing with itself, and in that you are much better off on letting it go internally, and then going from there, whatever the case may be. Whether it's the specifics aren't important, but I was just using that one as an example. So whether it's relationships, whether it's something completely imaginary, something that did happen, something that hasn't happened, anything like that, the primary focus should be peace and clarity, and how to internally do that. And that's why I offer that's why I have my website, the Anxiety Freedom 101.us, in which I can help people go through, navigate a little bit easier, because there isn't anything wrong with asking for help. But I would say if you're looking, but we try to keep the questions to a minimum, so we can get down to brass tacks and say, okay, this is what you're experiencing, and this is what we need to do. So this was not a shameless plug for the website. It was just to show you guys something specific. There isn't anything wrong with positive or healthy thinking. I don't have anything against that. But if you can be truly neutral with yourself and with others, you will see something come out of that is way more powerful than whatever your mind was producing during these difficult periods of time. So that's just my fun little tidbit today on internal conflict, the angel-devil kind of situation here. So, but I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any questions or anything like that, leave them in the comments below. I do have the website, and enjoy the rest of your day. And thanks for watching. Have a great day, guys. See ya.